My family refused to come to my son's birthday, even though he asked for their presents, saying they had something better to do. After that, everything changed. Before continuing the story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you won't miss more stories, and leave your like on the video. I should have known something was wrong when my mother responded to the invitation with just a thumbs up emoji. No excitement, no can't wait to see my grandson, just a single digital gesture that probably took her half a second to send. But I convinced myself I was reading too much into it. They were family. They wouldn't miss Liam's 10th birthday. I spent 3 days preparing everything. I'm not talking about ordering a cake and hanging some balloons. I'm talking about handmade decorations because that's what I could afford. A Pinterest-worthy dessert table that took me until 2 in the morning to finish. And a treasure hunt I designed myself because Liam had been obsessed with pirates for months. I even borrowed folding chairs from my neighbor because I needed seating for the relatives who'd confirmed they were coming. I'd bought extra supplies, planned the menu around my mother's dietary restrictions, and made sure to have the specific brand of juice my sister's kids liked. My brother sent me a text 2 days before. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The little man is finally double digits. My sister called to ask if she should bring anything, and when I said no, she insisted she'd bring her famous brownies anyway. Even my mother, in her typical detached way, had confirmed she'd be there by 3 o'clock. I'd felt stupid for worrying. Of course they'd come. This was Liam's first double-digit birthday. He'd been talking about it for months, asking if everyone had received their invitations, wanting to know what time his uncle would arrive. The party started at 2. By 2:30, Liam's school friends had arrived with their parents, filling my small backyard with the chaos of 10-year-old energy. The weather had cooperated perfectly. Sunny, but not too hot. Kids were laughing, parents were chatting politely near the drinks table. I kept checking my phone, expecting the running late messages that never came. By 3, I was glancing at the driveway every few minutes, my stomach tightening each time a car passed without stopping. By 3:30, I was texting the family group chat with a casual, "Everyone okay?" that got left unread. Liam didn't seem to notice at first. He was too busy being a pirate captain, leading his crew of classmates on the treasure hunt I'd stayed up creating. But I noticed. I noticed the empty chairs I'd borrowed. I noticed the extra cake slices that wouldn't be eaten. I noticed how I'd made sure to have activities for different age groups, thinking my teenage niece and nephew would be there. I'd even set up a quiet corner with comfortable seating for my mother, who always complained about standing too long. At 4 o'clock, my mother finally responded, "Oh, sweetie, it's just a kid's party. He has his little friends there. We had other plans." Just a kid's party. Just my son's 10th birthday that he'd been counting down to for months. Just the event where he'd specifically asked if everyone was coming because he wanted to show them his new bike, the one I'd saved for 6 months to buy him. I was standing by the snack table when I saw it. I don't know why I opened social media. Maybe some self-destructive instinct. There they were. My mother, my brother, my sister, my uncle, and 3 cousins I'd specifically invited. They were at the Sterling Room, this upscale brunch place downtown that charges $30 for eggs. My sister's story showed mimosas and French toast arranged like art. My brother had posted a group photo with the caption, "Sunday Fun Day with the fam." The timestamp showed they'd been there since noon. They'd chosen bottomless mimosas over my son. The worst part was seeing my mother laugh in one of the photos, her head thrown back in genuine joy. I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen her look that happy around me. My sister had posted 3 stories from the brunch, each one showing a different elaborate dish, each one a reminder that they were all together while my son's party happened without them. I watched Liam blow out his candles surrounded by his school friends and their parents, people who barely knew him but had shown up anyway. He smiled big for the camera, and I smiled back, and something inside me cracked so completely that I knew it would never fit back together the same way. The humiliation wasn't just that they'd skipped his party. It was the casualness of it, the easy dismissal, the public evidence of exactly where I ranked in their priorities. They hadn't even tried to hide it. They'd posted about their plans publicly, knowing I'd see, not caring enough to even be discreet about their rejection. That night, after all the guests had left and Liam was asleep, I sat in my kitchen surrounded by leftover cake and borrowed chairs that needed returning. I wasn't crying. I was too far past tears for that. I was calculating, adding up years of always being available, always helping, always understanding. I thought about the house I'd bought, the one where my mother had been living rent-free for 5 years. I thought about the money I'd lent that was never repaid, the emergencies I'd covered, the sacrifices I'd made, and I made a decision. It wasn't dramatic or emotional. It was cold and clear and certain. This was going to end. All of it. I just needed to figure out exactly how. The pattern started long before I even realized I was trapped in it. I was 22 when my mother first asked to borrow money. Just $200 for an unexpected car repair. She'd pay me back by the end of the month, she promised. That was 15 years ago, and I'm still waiting. By 25, I'd become the family's unofficial bank. My brother needed $3,000 for a business idea that folded within 6 months. My sister required bail money for her boyfriend, then later for herself after a DUI. My mother's temporary needs became a monthly subscription I never signed up for. Each time, they promised repayment. Each time, I believed them because that's what family does, right? I worked 2 jobs through my 20s. Days at a medical office, evenings doing freelance bookkeeping from home. I lived in a studio with thrift store furniture while my siblings rented nice places they could barely afford. I packed lunches, skipped dinners out, wore the same 5 outfits on rotation. Every dollar saved went toward my goal, buying property. When I finally had enough for a down payment, I found 2 small houses being sold together by an elderly couple. They weren't fancy. One was a modest 3-bedroom ranch. The other was a smaller 2-bedroom bungalow with outdated everything. I could just barely make it work with my savings and a mortgage I'd be paying off until I was 50. I moved into the 3-bedroom with Liam, who was 5 then. I spent weekends painting walls and fixing cabinets, learning from YouTube videos because I couldn't afford contractors. The 2-bedroom sat empty for months while I saved to renovate it for rental income. That's when my mother started her campaign. She was living in a cramped apartment, she said. Terrible neighbors. Landlord wouldn't fix anything. She just needed somewhere temporary, maybe 3 months. As her daughter, surely I wouldn't leave her in such a horrible situation. I should have said no. But I was still operating under the delusion that family meant something mutual, something reciprocal. I let her move in rent-free for what was supposed to be 90 days. That was 5 years ago. She never paid a single month's rent. Never offered utilities. Never bought her own groceries half the time, showing up at my house complaining about being hungry and ransacking my carefully budgeted pantry. When I gently mentioned her contributing something, she'd get wounded. "I'm your mother," she'd say, as if that explained everything. The exploitation didn't stop at free housing. When my brother's second business failed, guess who he called? When my sister needed $4,000 for a lawyer after her 3rd traffic incident, guess whose door she knocked on? When family members needed gifts for occasions I wasn't even invited to, they'd ask me to chip in since you're doing well. I wasn't doing well. I was drowning. Every month was a calculation of which bill could wait, which grocery wasn't essential, whether Liam's shoes could last another few months. I drove a car with 200,000 miles and repaired it myself. My clothes came from clearance racks. I cut my own hair. Meanwhile, my family posted vacation photos and restaurant check-ins. My sister got her nails done every 2 weeks at $60 a visit. My brother bought a new truck. My mother, living rent-free in my house, redecorated with furniture that cost more than everything in my living room combined. The moment that crystallized everything happened 6 months before Liam's 10th birthday. A Sunday family lunch at my mother's house. My house, technically, but I'd stopped correcting that. I brought a casserole and helped set the table while everyone else arrived empty-handed. After lunch, my mother didn't ask. She told, "The dishes need doing. You can handle that since you don't have a husband to get home to." My sister laughed. "Yeah, at least you have free time. Some of us have actual plans today." I stood at that sink, hands in greasy water, watching through the window as they gathered in the backyard. Someone made a joke and they all laughed. Not one looked back to see if I needed help. Not one thought to ask if maybe I had plans too, or if having a husband shouldn't determine whether I deserved basic respect. I finished those dishes in silence, dried them, put them away in cabinets in a house I owned but wasn't allowed to claim. Then I drove home with Liam, who asked why I was quiet. I told him I was just tired. But I wasn't tired. I was awake for the first time in years. I was seeing clearly what I'd been too conditioned to recognize. I wasn't family to them. I was a resource. An ATM with emotions they could manipulate. A safety net they could exploit indefinitely without consequence. That night, I made a list of every dollar I'd given them over the years. Every loan never repaid. Every emergency covered. Every burden shouldered. The number made me physically ill. With that money, I could have paid off half my mortgage. I could have taken Liam on real vacations. I could have had savings, security, breathing room. Instead, I had resentment. Deep, corrosive resentment I'd tried to bury under obligation and guilt. But watching them at that brunch, seeing proof that I meant so little they couldn't even pretend to care about my son's birthday, something shifted. The resentment crystallized into decision. I thought maybe the silent week after the party would give them time to reflect. Maybe someone would apologize. Maybe my mother would acknowledge how much they'd hurt Liam. I wasn't expecting grand gestures, just basic decency. Instead, the following Saturday morning, my sister sent a cheerful message like nothing had happened. "BBQ at Mom's next Saturday, it's going to be amazing!" My mother had sent a detailed list of what everyone needed to bring, organized by name with bullet points. My brother, 2 liters of soda and ice. My sister, 1 store-bought dessert. My uncle, hamburger buns and condiments. My cousins, chips and dip. Then, at the bottom in bold, my name, followed by 3 pounds of premium steak, specialty charcoal, imported beer, a fruit platter, and decorative centerpieces. The specialty items alone would cost over $200. Everyone else's contributions combined might reach $60. I read it 3 times, waiting for someone to acknowledge the absurdity. But messages kept coming, upbeat and enthusiastic. Not one person questioned why I was expected to provide items costing 5 times what everyone else would spend. My brother sent a voice message, his tone casual. "Don't overthink the list. You know Mom just wants it nice. Plus, it's not like you have plans anyway. You never do anything on weekends." That landed like a slap. You never do anything on weekends. As if the weekends with Liam didn't count. As if my life only mattered when it served them. Nobody mentioned Liam's party. Nobody acknowledged that a week ago they'd abandoned a 10-year-old who'd been counting down to see them. The cognitive dissonance was stunning. They could skip my son's birthday for mimosas and then expect me to fund their barbecue without any self-awareness. I typed a simple sentence. "I won't be attending, and I won't be providing the items on the list." The response was immediate. My phone buzzed like an angry hornet. My mother called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. I declined. Then came the text. "We need to talk about this attitude. Call me immediately." My brother sent a wall of text about family obligations and how I was being selfish over a simple request. He reminded me that family helps each other, that everyone contributes. He didn't notice my contribution was expected to be 5 times anyone else's, or that nobody had helped when Liam needed them. My sister took a different approach, wounded and falsely concerned. "I don't know what's gotten into you lately. You've been so distant and cold. We're just trying to include you. If money is tight, you could have just said something instead of being rude. If money is tight." As if they didn't know. As if they hadn't been the primary reason money was tight for 15 years. My uncle, who I barely spoke to, sent a message calling me ungrateful. Cousins who hadn't bothered showing at Liam's party suddenly appeared with concerned questions about whether I was okay. The intervention was coordinated. They'd probably started a separate group chat, strategizing how to handle my rebellion. Throughout the day, messages continued. Guilt trips about my mother aging and wanting family close, accusations that I thought I was better than everyone, suggestions I was having a breakdown. My brother's voice message turned harder. I was destroying the family over nothing. Not one person apologized for missing Liam's party. Not one acknowledged the hurt. They'd moved on completely, and my refusal to fund their gathering was somehow the offense needing addressing. That evening, Liam was at a sleepover. I sat in my quiet kitchen, phone finally silent after muting the group chat. I pulled out my document folder. The deed to both houses, property tax records, insurance papers. I ran my fingers over the deed to the 2-bedroom, the house my mother had occupied for 5 years without paying a single dollar. My house, my property, my decision. The barbecue was next Saturday. I had 1 week. But really, the decision had already been made. It had been made when they chose brunch over my son. It solidified when they treated my boundaries like an inconvenience rather than something deserving respect. I just needed to figure out the execution. And sitting there with those deeds in my hands, holding legal proof of ownership, a plan started forming. Not complicated, not elaborate, just direct and undeniable. They wanted to treat my property like theirs. They were about to learn exactly who owned what. The week following my refusal was a masterclass in family manipulation. If I'd had any doubts about my decision, they evaporated under the coordinated assault. Monday morning, my mother called at 7 while I was getting Liam ready for school. I didn't answer. Her voicemail shifted between hurt and anger. "I don't know what I did to deserve this treatment. After everything I've sacrificed for you. After raising you when your father left. This is how you repay me?" Textbook guilt trip. Weaponizing her role as mother, rewriting history as the perpetual victim. She forgot the years I'd supported her, Forgot the free housing, forgot my son's abandoned birthday. Tuesday, my sister started posting on social media. Vague but pointed. It's sad when people forget where they came from. Another. Family isn't perfect, but at least they're real, unlike fake people who think they're too good. Comments poured in from relatives supporting her against the unnamed villain who was obviously me. Wednesday brought my brother's escalation. 3 voice messages, each angrier. In the final one, his voice was tight with rage. You know what your problem is? You've always thought you were better than us. Got a house, got a job, and suddenly we're not good enough. You're selfish and stuck up. Mom is crying because of you. The gathering is ruined. But sure, keep acting like you're the victim. The audacity was stunning. I was embarrassing myself. Not them, who'd abandoned a child's birthday. Not them, who expected me to fund their party days later. Me for saying no. Thursday, extended family got involved. My uncle texted about family values and how young people don't understand sacrifice. Cousins who hadn't spoken to me in months suddenly had opinions about my character. One said she was disappointed in me, which was almost funny considering she'd RSVP'd to Liam's party and never showed. My mother's church friends messaged about forgiveness and honoring parents. Someone from high school said my sister seemed hurt, and maybe I should reconsider. The gossip network was working overtime, painting me as the ungrateful daughter having a breakdown. Friday evening was the breaking point. I was helping Liam with homework when my sister called. Against better judgment, I answered. Finally, she said sharply. I've been trying to reach you all week. I've been busy. Too busy for family? A pause. Then false concern. Look, I know you're going through something. Maybe you're stressed about money or work or being single. But you can't take it out on us. We're here for you, but you're pushing everyone away. Impressive psychology. Reframe my boundaries as mental instability. Make my refusal about my deficiencies rather than their behavior. I'm not going through anything, I said calmly. I declined to attend an event and provide expensive items. That's all. That's not all, and you know it. You've been cold for weeks. Ever since? She stopped abruptly. Ever since what? Silence. She'd almost mentioned the party they'd all skipped, but acknowledging it would require admitting fault. Never mind. The point is you're hurting Mom. She's getting older, and family time is important. Is your pride really worth making her suffer? My pride. Not their neglect, exploitation, or complete disregard for my son. My pride was the problem. I need to go. Liam needs help with homework. Of course, Liam. Her tone turned bitter. You know, not everything is about him. Maybe if you'd put the same energy into family relationships as you do into being a martyr mom, we wouldn't be here. Not everything is about him. About my 10-year-old son whose birthday they'd abandoned without apology. That sentence crystallized everything perfectly. I hung up without responding. That night, after Liam was asleep, I opened my laptop and searched for family law attorneys. I needed to understand my legal rights regarding the property my mother occupied. Not from elaborate revenge fantasies, but from professionals who could explain concrete steps for reclaiming my property. The guilt tried to surface. Good daughters don't evict their mothers. Family forgives. Blood is thicker than water. All the platitudes that kept me compliant. But then I remembered Liam blowing out candles surrounded by classmates while every family member was drinking overpriced mimosas across town. I remembered my sister's laughter as my mother ordered me to do dishes. I remembered my brother's casual dismissal. The guilt evaporated, replaced by sharp clarity. I wasn't destroying the family. They'd already destroyed it over years of taking while giving nothing back. I was finally acknowledging what had been true for years. I didn't have a family. I had people systematically using me, seeing me as a resource rather than a person. And resources could be withdrawn. The barbecue was tomorrow. They were probably planning it, assuming I'd cave like always. They were wrong. The barbecue happened without me. I spent that Saturday at the aquarium with Liam, watching him marvel at jellyfish and sea turtles. My phone buzzed periodically with messages I didn't read. For those few hours, I was just a mother with her son. Nothing more complicated. The following weeks were quiet. They'd expected continued drama, eventual capitulation. Instead, they got silence. I muted the group chat. I didn't respond to inflammatory posts. I simply went about my life. Work, Liam, home, repeat. But I was busy in ways they couldn't see. Monday after the barbecue, I called 3 law firms. The first consultation was with an attorney who specialized in property law. Her office was modest, her manner straightforward. I brought my documents, the deed showing sole ownership, 5 years of tax payments, utility bills, insurance records. She reviewed everything carefully. Your mother has no written lease? No. She moved in temporarily and never left. Has she paid any rent? Contributed to taxes, insurance, or repairs? Nothing. The attorney leaned back. This is straightforward. The property is yours, documented and paid for entirely by you. She's essentially a guest who overstayed. Legally, she's a tenant at will, which means you can terminate her tenancy with proper notice. How much notice? 30 days written notice. After that, if she refuses to leave, you file for eviction through the courts. With your documentation, it's an open and shut case. It sounded almost too simple. That's it? That's it. You're the sole owner with clear documentation. She has no legal claim. She paused. I'll be honest, though. This will likely destroy your relationship with her and possibly your extended family. Are you prepared? I thought about Liam's empty birthday party, about years of being treated as an ATM. Yes, I'm prepared. She drafted a formal notice of termination of tenancy. 30 days from service, my mother would need to vacate. The attorney recommended having it served by a process server to ensure proper documentation. I chose the process server. I wanted this handled professionally, with no room for argument. Next was the practical side. I called the utility company and confirmed all accounts were in my name. I verified I could request service changes as the property owner. I also found contact information for a locksmith, filing the numbers away for potential future use. Through all of this, I maintained normal routine. Work, picking up Liam, homework, dinner, Friday movie nights. Life continued, ordinary and peaceful on the surface. The family's messages became less frequent as they realized I wasn't engaging. My mother sent occasional texts ranging from hurt to angry, but I only responded with brief neutrality. Received your message. Nothing more. 3 weeks after my attorney consultation, I received confirmation the notice had been served. The process server reported my mother had answered the door, read the document, and closed it without comment. No yelling, no scene, just quiet receipt. I waited for the explosion. It came after 2 days of silence. My phone lit up at 9 on a Thursday evening, my mother, brother, and sister all calling simultaneously. I let them go to voicemail. They tried again, and again. Finally, a text from my mother. We need to talk about this immediately. What you're doing is illegal and cruel. I typed back, what I'm doing is legal and documented. I've given proper notice as required by law. We have nothing to discuss. The calls continued through the night. I turned my phone off after ensuring Liam was asleep. When I turned it back on in the morning, there were 17 missed calls and 23 messages ranging from threats to pleading to accusations. My brother's message was most telling. You're really going to make Mom homeless over a stupid grudge? Over us missing one party? Are you insane? One party. That's all it was to them. Not years of exploitation, not systematic use of me as a resource. One party. I didn't respond to any of them. At work that day, my boss called me in. My stomach dropped, wondering if family drama had reached my workplace. But she smiled. Your request for vacation time in late December was approved. 2 weeks. Any plans? Liam and I had been looking at beach destinations, somewhere warm for the holidays. We're thinking about taking a trip, I said. Somewhere sunny. Sounds perfect. You deserve it. Walking back to my desk, I thought about timing. The eviction notice gave my mother until mid-December to vacate. My vacation was the last 2 weeks of December through New Year's. By the time I returned, the house would be empty, or the legal process would handle any remaining issues. I hadn't planned it that way initially, but the timeline was almost poetic. While my family dealt with consequences of their actions, Liam and I would be building sandcastles and watching sunsets far away from it all. That evening, I reviewed my documents again. Everything was in order. Legal notice served, rights confirmed, plan in motion. All that remained was seeing it through. For the first time in years, I felt something I'd almost forgotten: control over my own life. November arrived with a shift in my family's tactics. They'd realized legal threats wouldn't work, so they pivoted to emotional manipulation and public opinion. My mother started attending my church. I hadn't seen her there in years, but suddenly she was in the front pew every Sunday, dabbing her eyes with tissues, looking frail and abandoned. People I'd known for years started giving me concerned looks. My sister ramped up social media, posts about family importance, honoring parents, cruelty toward elderly relatives. She never mentioned me by name, but everyone knew. Comments were unanimous in their sympathy and judgment. The pressure was subtle but constant. A coworker mentioned my sister's posts. A neighbor asked if my mother was all right. Even Liam's teacher pulled me aside about family stressors. He seems fine, she said carefully, but I wanted to check in. Sometimes when families go through difficult times, it impacts children even when we try to shield them. I assured her Liam was fine, which was true. He was oblivious to adult drama, focused on school and friends. But the question reminded me my family's campaign was reaching every corner of my life. Mid-November, my mother showed up on a Saturday morning. I saw her through the window looking smaller somehow. I almost didn't answer, but Liam was home and would have questions. I stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind me. What is it? I want to understand what I did wrong. Her voice was soft, fragile. I've been trying to figure out where everything went so wrong. I know I'm not perfect, but I'm your mother. Doesn't that count for something? It should, but it goes both ways. I gave you life. I raised you when your father left. I did my best with what I had. And I gave you 5 years of free housing. I lent you thousands of dollars. I covered your emergencies and my siblings' disasters. I've been doing my best too. Her expression shifted, something harder beneath the fragility. So this is about money? You're evicting your own mother over money? This is about respect. Or the complete lack of it. Respect? She laughed bitterly. You're throwing me out onto the street and you want to lecture me about respect? You have 30 days notice. That's plenty of time to find a place. With what money? You know I can't afford rent in this city. You found money for that brunch at the Sterling Room. You found money to redecorate my house. You'll figure it out. Her face flushed. That brunch was a birthday celebration, and the furniture was on sale. Liam's 10th birthday was a family obligation too, but you had better plans. Silence. She stared at me, realizing I wasn't backing down. The fragility dropped away, replaced by cold fury. You're making a mistake, she said quietly. Family is forever. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but it's my decision to make. She left without another word. I waited for guilt. It didn't come. Just quiet relief the confrontation was over. 2 weeks before my December vacation, I made another move. I called the utility company and requested electricity disconnection effective December 30th. As property owner, I had every right. I scheduled water shut-off for the same date. The timing was calculated. December 30th was 2 days before the eviction deadline. If my mother was still there, she'd be without power in winter. It would make staying uncomfortable and potentially unsafe. Around the same time, I mentioned holiday plans to Liam. We're going somewhere warm for Christmas break. Somewhere with a beach. His eyes lit up. Really? Like an actual beach vacation? Really? Just you and me? Will the family come? No, buddy. Just us this time. He seemed fine with that, already chattering about dolphins and surfing. The resilience of children is remarkable. The week before leaving, I received a certified letter from an attorney representing my mother. Reading it, I almost laughed. It claimed I was violating elder abuse laws, that I had a duty to provide for her, that cutting utilities was endangerment. It threatened legal action unless I rescinded the notice. I forwarded it to my attorney, who called within an hour. This is complete nonsense, she said flatly. There's no legal obligation for adult children to provide housing to parents. The elder abuse claim is laughable. You've given proper notice, followed all procedures. This is just intimidation. So, I don't need to do anything? I'll send a response citing relevant laws. But no, don't worry. This is a Hail Mary that won't go anywhere. 3 days before my flight, I mentioned vacation dates at work, loud enough for people to hear. Small talk, innocent, but I knew how offices worked. Within hours, it would spread. By next day, someone who knew someone in my family would hear. I wanted them to know I'd be gone, that while they dealt with eviction deadline consequences, I'd be thousands of miles away, unreachable and unconcerned. The night before our flight, I packed while Liam slept. Swimsuits, sunscreen, his favorite books, a new camera for the trip, simple things that felt like freedom. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Please, can we work this out? I have nowhere to go. I stared at it, then typed back. You have until January 2nd. That's not my problem anymore. Then I turned off my phone, finished packing, and went to bed. Tomorrow, we'd be on a plane. Tomorrow, everything would finally be different. The flight landed Tuesday afternoon. Stepping into humid warmth felt like entering a different world. Liam pressed his face against the taxi window the entire ride, mesmerized by palm trees and glimpses of turquoise water. Our room had a balcony overlooking the ocean. That first evening, we ate takeout watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Liam talked nonstop about everything he wanted to do, and I just listened. Present. without the weight of family drama pressing down. I'd left my phone off since the airport. It stayed in my suitcase, deliberately out of reach. For the first few days, I felt phantom buzzes, muscle memory reaching for a device that wasn't there. But gradually, the urge faded. We spent Christmas Day on the beach. Liam built an elaborate sandcastle while I read. A local family nearby invited us to share their food, and we sat with strangers who felt more like family than the people I'd left behind, eating grilled fish while Liam made friends with their kids despite language barriers. That night, Liam asked if I missed everyone back home. Some people, I said honestly. Coworkers, neighbors, friends. Not the family? It's complicated, buddy. Sometimes people who are supposed to care about us don't show it in the ways we need, and that's okay to feel sad about. He nodded. I kind of missed them at my party, but this is way more fun. Out of the mouths of children, this simple vacation was better than any family gathering I'd endured in years. December 30th arrived with brilliant sunshine. While Liam snorkeled in the hotel pool, I finally turned on my phone. The device took minutes to load missed notifications. Messages, voicemails, emails, all piling up. I didn't read them in detail. I scrolled through, getting the general narrative. Panic from my mother as utility shutoff approached. Angry messages from my siblings about my cruelty. Appeals from relatives. Threats about legal action. Then, time-stamped late yesterday evening, a message from my brother. She's moving out. Hope you're happy. I felt nothing. No triumph, no guilt, no satisfaction. Just quiet completion. A chapter closing. I saved the messages for my attorney, then put the phone away. Whatever drama was unfolding back home was happening without me. New Year's Eve felt significant. Liam and I joined the hotel's beachfront celebration. Fireworks over water, couples dancing, families gathered. At midnight, as the sky exploded in color, Liam hugged me tight. "This is the best vacation ever," he said. "Yeah," I agreed, tears in my eyes. "It really is." Standing there, thousands of miles from home, I realized what I felt wasn't just freedom from my family. It was freedom to build something better, to choose who I spent time with, to set boundaries without guilt, to teach my son that family should be earned, not demanded. The next morning, I checked my phone. A message from my attorney. Property has been vacated. All keys returned. Suggest inspection before re-entry. Will coordinate upon return. It was done. Actually, completely done. My neighbor had messaged too. Saw moving trucks at the rental property yesterday. Everything okay? I typed back. Everything's fine, just some changes. Thanks for checking. The remaining days passed in a blur of sun and salt water and simple happiness. We visited markets, tried foods we couldn't pronounce, collected shells Liam insisted we bring home. We talked about everything and nothing, the kind of rambling conversations that happen when you're not rushing between obligations. On our last evening, Liam asked, "Can we do this again next year?" "Absolutely," I said. And I meant it. This would be our new tradition. Not stressful family gatherings where I was treated like an ATM, not holidays trying to meet impossible expectations. Just us, somewhere warm, building actually happy memories. The flight home felt different. I wasn't running away anymore. I was returning to a life I'd reclaimed, a future I was choosing deliberately. Landing back in cold January air, I turned my phone on properly. Messages had slowed to a trickle. A few from relatives asking when we could talk. One from my mother. "I hope you can live with what you've done." I could. That was the thing they didn't understand. I could live with it perfectly well. Better than I'd been living with years of exploitation and disrespect. Driving home, Liam fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted and happy. I glanced at him in the rearview mirror. This kid who deserved a mother who prioritized his well-being over family obligation, who understood that sometimes love means setting boundaries, even when those boundaries hurt. The rental property sat empty, waiting for its next chapter. My house felt quieter somehow, more peaceful. I unpacked our bags, hung Liam's drawings on the refrigerator, and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. I felt like I was home, actually home. Not just in a building I owned, but in a life I'd chosen. And that made all the difference. The first week of January passed in deceptive quiet. I returned to work, Liam went back to school, life resumed its rhythm. But underneath, I knew a storm was gathering. It broke on a Friday evening. Someone started pounding on my front door. Not knocking, pounding. I looked through the peephole. My brother, face red, jaw tight. Behind him, my sister, arms crossed, expression hard. I opened the door but kept the chain lock engaged. "We need to talk," my brother said, voice barely controlled. "There's nothing to discuss." "Nothing to discuss? You kicked Mom out in winter. She's on my couch. Do you have any idea what you've done? She had 30 days' notice. What she does with that time isn't my responsibility." My sister pushed forward. "You cut off electricity and water in December. What kind of person does that? The kind who owns the property and gave proper legal notice. She's family," my brother spat. "You don't treat family like this." The hypocrisy was almost funny. "You mean like skipping my son's 10th birthday for brunch?" Silence. My sister's mouth opened, then closed. "That's what this is about?" she finally said. "A birthday party? You destroyed our mother's life over a kid's party? I reclaimed my property after years of being used. The party was just when I finally saw clearly what you think of me and my son. This is insane. We had prior plans. Adults understand that. Adults also apologize when they hurt someone. You've done neither." My sister's expression shifted to something uglier. "Maybe we didn't come because we're tired of you acting like a martyr. Poor single mom struggling so hard. It's exhausting. You chose to have a kid on your own. That's not our problem." The words hung brutal in their honesty. At least now we were past pretense. "You're right," I said calmly. "It's not your problem. And my property isn't free housing anymore. Now please leave." "We're not done." "Yes, we are. You're on my property. If you don't leave, I'll call the police." I pulled out my phone. My brother stared at me like he'd never seen me before. "This is going to blow up in your face," he said quietly. "Family doesn't forget." "Good. Then we'll all remember clearly where we stand." After they left, I stood shaking from adrenaline. Liam appeared from his room where I'd asked him to stay. Was that my uncle and aunt? Yes. They sounded angry. They are. But it's not your problem. Adult stuff. He nodded, troubled. Are we still family with them? How do you explain that family isn't always what it should be? Sometimes families grow apart. Sometimes that's for the best. The following week, my mother tried getting the church involved. The pastor called. Kind but uncomfortable. "Your mother is very distressed. She feels you've abandoned her. With respect, this is a private family matter. From a spiritual perspective, we're called to honor our parents." I showed mercy for 5 years of free housing. I showed forgiveness for countless loans never repaid. At some point, mercy becomes enabling. He was quiet. "I see you've thought about this deeply. I won't presume to judge. I have found peace. That's what they can't understand." After that, I blocked my family's numbers. All of them. Complete severance. The rental property inspection happened mid-January. My attorney accompanied me. My mother had left it surprisingly clean. No damage, nothing malicious. Just vacant rooms echoing with 5 years of free occupancy. I hired cleaners, repainted walls neutral, replaced cheap blinds. The transformation was remarkable. It stopped being my mother's place and became just a rental property with potential. Applications came in within days. I found myself drawn to one, a young family with 2 small children, working parents with solid references. Their cover letter mentioned they'd been searching for months for something in a safe neighborhood with a yard. Something resonated. Maybe because I remembered being that young family, struggling for stability. I approved their application. The day they moved in, I stopped by to hand over keys. Their kids ran around the backyard, squealing with excitement. The mother had tears in her eyes. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means. We've been in a cramped apartment for 3 years. This is perfect." Watching them settle in, watching their kids claim the space with joy, I felt unexpected satisfaction. Not from revenge, but from creating something good from the ashes of something toxic. That evening, Liam asked if we could invite the new neighbors for dinner. "Their kids seem cool," he said. I smiled. "Yeah, buddy. That's a great idea." New beginnings, I thought, for everyone. February brought an unexpected complication. My mother, unwilling to accept defeat, escalated in the only way she had left: legal action. The lawsuit papers arrived on a Thursday. I stood in my kitchen reading claims that were almost creative in their absurdity. She was suing for wrongful eviction, elder abandonment, emotional distress, and seeking compensation for years of unpaid caregiving services to her grandson. That last one made me laugh out loud. Unpaid caregiving services. She'd babysat Liam exactly 3 times in his entire life, each time as a huge favor she reminded me about for months afterward. I called my attorney immediately. She sighed when I explained. I was wondering if she'd try this. It's a desperate move and it won't go anywhere, but we'll need to respond properly. Can you document every financial transaction between you? I have spreadsheets going back years. I tracked everything. Perfect. Bring them in. We'll build a counterclaim for the money you're owed. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. The discovery process was enlightening. My mother's attorney had to provide financial records, and what emerged was a picture of someone living beyond her means while crying poverty to me. Luxury purchases, weekend trips, salon appointments that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. My attorney compiled everything into a counterclaim, $15,000 in unpaid loans, 5 years of fair market rent she never paid, and interest. The total came to over $70,000. This is conservative, my attorney said. We could argue for more, but this is defensible and documented. When her attorney sees this, the lawsuit will likely disappear. She was right. 2 weeks later, my mother's attorney filed a motion to dismiss. The case was dropped before it ever saw a courtroom. I never pursued my counterclaim. I didn't need the money as much as I needed peace. But the lawsuit had one unintended consequence. It made the family conflict public record, and small towns love gossip. The truth started coming out in unexpected ways. A woman from church approached me after service one Sunday. "I wanted you to know," she said quietly, "that not everyone believes what your mother's been saying. Some of us have been watching how she talks about you versus how she talks about herself. The math doesn't add up." Another woman pulled me aside at the grocery store. "My sister went through something similar with her family. I just wanted to say I think what you did took incredible courage. Sometimes the healthiest thing is distance." Even at work, my boss called me in. I braced for bad news, but she smiled. "I heard about your family situation. I'm not going to pry, but if you need flexibility with scheduling or time off for legal matters, just let me know." And between us, my mother lived with me for 2 years rent-free and it nearly destroyed my marriage. I get it. The support surprised me. I'd expected judgment, isolation, the classic narrative of the ungrateful daughter. Instead, I found a quiet community of people who understood that family dysfunction is more common than anyone wants to admit. The rental property situation stabilized beautifully. The new tenants were everything I'd hoped for: responsible, communicative, respectful. They paid rent on time, maintained the yard, even sent me a thank you card after their first month. Better yet, their kids and Liam became friends. Real friends, not obligatory cousin relationships forced by family ties. They played in both yards, had sleepovers, went to the same school. I found myself becoming friends with the parents, too. One Saturday evening in March, they invited us for dinner. Nothing fancy, just grilled burgers in their backyard. Watching Liam laugh with their kids, watching the easy way these near strangers had become our community, I felt something shift. This was what family should feel like. Mutual, reciprocal, chosen. Not obligatory, not transactional, not weighted with decades of resentment. Just people who liked each other, who showed up for each other, who treated each other with basic respect and kindness. The mother caught me watching and smiled. "Your son is wonderful. You've done an amazing job with him. Thank you. He's the best thing I ever did. Can I ask you something? And please tell me if I'm overstepping." She hesitated. "We heard rumors about family drama. I don't need details, but I wanted you to know that whatever happened, we're grateful you chose us as tenants. This house has been such a blessing." I felt my throat tighten. "You're not overstepping. And honestly, seeing you all here, seeing your kids so happy, it makes everything worth it. This house was stuck in something toxic, and now it's part of something healthy. That means more to me than you know." She squeezed my hand. Sometimes the family we choose is more real than the family we're born into. Driving home that night, Liam chattered about plans to build a treehouse. "Can they use our yard too, since we have the bigger tree?" "Of course, buddy. This is way better than family parties," he said casually. "Nobody yells or gets weird. We just have fun." Out of the mouths of children. Again. Spring arrived with warm winds and blooming flowers. Liam's 11th birthday was approaching, and this time I asked him what he wanted. "Can we have a party at the park?" he said. "With my school friends and maybe the neighbors' kids. Nothing big, just pizza and cake." That sounds perfect. No elaborate planning, trying to impress people who wouldn't appreciate it. No anxiety about who would or wouldn't show up. Just a simple celebration with people who actually cared about him. Simple, honest, real. That's what freedom felt like. The months following the lawsuit's dismissal brought a strange kind of peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the absence of anticipation. I no longer woke up wondering what demand would come next. My family had gone completely silent. No more calls, no messages, no campaigns. At first, I waited for the other shoe to drop, but weeks turned into months, and the silence held. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard fragments. My mother had moved in with my brother temporarily. My sister had distanced herself entirely. The extended family had moved on to other dramas. I was yesterday's news, and that felt like victory. Liam's 11th birthday party happened on a beautiful Saturday in late April. We'd rented a pavilion at the park, kept everything simple: pizza, cake, basic decorations. No stress, no elaborate plans. 20 kids showed up. Every single one had RSVP'd, and every single one came. Their parents stayed, chatting easily. The neighbors brought their children, and everyone blended together. When it was time for cake, everyone gathered singing. Liam's face was radiant, surrounded by people who'd chosen to be there. He blew out his candles, and I saw no shadow of disappointment. He was present, fully and completely, in a moment that was actually happy. After the party, one of the other mothers approached me. This was such a great party. So refreshing to see something simple and genuine. I laughed. I learned the hard way that elaborate doesn't equal meaningful. Well, it worked. Your son seems really happy and well-adjusted. That compliment meant more than she probably realized. Despite everything, Liam was thriving. In May, I ran into my sister at the grocery store. We'd successfully avoided each other for months. We both froze at opposite ends of produce. For a moment, I thought she might leave, but instead, she walked over, expression carefully neutral. "Hey," she said. "Hey." Awkward silence. I waited. "Look, I'm not here to fight. I just wanted you to know that Mom's with our brother, and it's not going great." "Okay." "He's realizing what you dealt with. The expectations, the demands." She laughed bitterly. "He called me last week complaining. I told him welcome to reality." "I'm not apologizing," she continued quickly. "I still think you were harsh, but I get it more now, that's all." She started to walk away, then turned back. For what it's worth, I saw pictures from Liam's birthday. He looked really happy. Then she was gone. I stood there processing. It wasn't an apology or reconciliation, but it was acknowledgement. A tiny crack in the wall of denial. I didn't reach out afterward. I just let it exist as what it was, a brief, honest exchange. By early summer, my life had found a sustainable rhythm. Work was good. Liam was excelling. The rental property generated income that gave me a financial cushion I'd never had. I'd even started saving for actual vacations. The neighbors had become real friends. We traded babysitting, shared meals, celebrated small victories. Their kids and Liam had created a friend group that felt organic and healthy. One evening, sitting on my porch while kids played in the yard, the father came over with beers. "You know, I've been thinking about something you said when we moved in. About the house being stuck in something toxic and now being part of something healthy." I remember. "I think it goes both ways. This community we've built, you're a big part of that. The way you show up for people, it creates something." I felt unexpected tears. "Thank you. That means a lot. Just calling it like I see it." He clinked his beer against mine. "Here's to healthy families, however we build them." Watching the kids play, listening to their laughter, I thought about how far I'd come. From that birthday party a year ago, watching Liam with classmates while his family chose brunch, to this moment, where he was genuinely happy surrounded by people who genuinely cared. The cost had been high. I'd lost my mother, my siblings, most of my extended family. I'd been called cruel, ungrateful, heartless. I'd been the villain in their story. But I'd gained something more valuable: peace, authenticity, freedom to build relationships based on mutual respect rather than obligation. And most importantly, I'd given my son a model of healthy boundaries. That night, after Liam was asleep, I sat in my quiet house and felt contentment. Not the absence of problems, but the presence of genuine okayness. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine, chosen deliberately rather than endured. The rental property had become something positive, a good family building memories in a space that deserved better. My decision to reclaim it hadn't been about revenge. It had been about refusing to let something I'd worked for be consumed by people who didn't value it. In the end, that's all this had ever been about. Not punishment or cruelty or even justice. Just valuing myself enough to stop accepting less than I deserved. Just choosing myself finally, after a lifetime of choosing everyone else. A year after the eviction, I received an unexpected letter. Not a legal document, just a plain envelope with my mother's handwriting. I stared at it before opening it. Part of me wanted to throw it away, but curiosity won. The letter was short. I've been living with your brother for a year. It's been difficult. He says I need to take responsibility for my part in what happened. I don't know if I can, but I'm trying to understand. I miss you. I miss my grandson. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. No dramatic apology. Just a small acknowledgement that maybe she understood something had been wrong. I put the letter in a drawer and didn't respond. I wasn't ready, but I didn't throw it away either. 2 weeks later, my brother called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hey, he said, sounding tired. I know we haven't talked in a year. I'm not calling to fight. I just wanted to say I get it now. Why you did what you did. I waited. Mom's been with us for over a year, and it's been hell. The constant demands, the guilt trips. My wife almost left me. We're in counseling now. I'm sorry you're going through that, I said, and meant it. I kept thinking about what you said. About Liam's birthday. He paused. We really didn't show up, did we? No, you didn't. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I see it now. And I'm sorry. Really sorry. It was the first real apology. It didn't erase the hurt, but it meant something. Thank you, I said quietly. That means a lot. How's Liam? He's great. Really happy. That's good. Pause. Look, I'm not asking to be back in your life, but if you ever wanted to let him see his cousins sometimes, I'd like that. No pressure. After we hung up, I sat with the conversation. Living my reality had changed him. I didn't make promises, but I didn't close the door entirely either. That evening, I talked to Liam. He was almost 12 now. Your uncle called. He apologized for missing your birthday last year. Oh, that's cool, I guess. Would you want to see your cousins sometime? Maybe at a park? He thought about it. Maybe. I don't really remember them well anymore. But yeah, maybe. No hurt. No desperate need. He'd moved on, but he was open to possibility. A month later, I arranged a meeting at a park. Just my brother, his wife, their kids, me and Liam. No big expectations. It was awkward at first, but gradually, it got easier. The kids found rhythm playing. The adults found safe topics. My brother's wife pulled me aside. I owe you an apology, too. I didn't understand. I do now. Living with your mother has been eye-opening. Thank you. As we left, my brother asked if we could do this again. Maybe once a month? Just so the kids don't forget each other? Let me think about it. But maybe. Driving home, Liam asked, Are we going to be a family with them again? I don't know, buddy. Maybe a different kind of family. With boundaries. We'll see. Okay. I kind of liked my cousins today. They're not as cool as my regular friends, but they were okay. I laughed. That's the right amount of enthusiasm. Over the following months, we met occasionally. Always in public, always casual, always with clear limits. My brother respected boundaries. We didn't talk about our mother much. My sister remained distant. We'd exchange pleasant nods if we ran into each other, and that was okay. Not every relationship needed repair. The rental property continued to be a success. The tenants had been there over a year, and we'd become close friends. Our kids were inseparable. One Saturday, we were at my house for a barbecue. Kids were building with cardboard boxes, adults lounging in lawn chairs. When we first moved into that rental, we were just desperate for a decent place, the neighbor said. We had no idea we were finding a whole community. Same, I said. I was just trying to reclaim a property. I didn't know I was building something better. Her husband raised his beer. To unexpected families. To unexpected families, we echoed. Looking around at this life I'd built deliberately, with boundaries and intention, I felt something I'd never felt with my family of origin, genuine belonging. These people chose to be here. They showed up. They respected my time. They celebrated Liam out of affection, not obligation. This was what family should feel like. And I'd had to burn down the old structure to build it. Worth it, I thought. Every difficult moment, every hard decision. Completely worth it. 2 years after reclaiming my property, I stood in my backyard watching something that would have seemed impossible the day Liam blew out his 10th birthday candles alone. It was a Sunday afternoon barbecue, but nothing like the ones from my old life. This gathering was full of laughter, genuine connection, and people who actually wanted to be here. The rental tenants were there with their kids, who'd become Liam's closest friends. A few school friends and their parents. My coworker and her family. Even my brother came, without drama. His kids playing easily with everyone else. Liam, now 12, was showing younger kids how to build the perfect burger. He'd developed this confidence, this easy way of moving through the world. Mom, can we do sparklers when it gets dark? Sure, buddy. Christina, my tenant-turned-friend, stood beside me. When we first met, you seemed so guarded. And now look at this. You built something really special. We built it, I corrected. All of us together. Fair enough, but you created the foundation. You chose kindness and boundaries over bitterness. Later, as the sun set, my brother pulled me aside. Mom finally moved into a senior living community. She fought it hard, but I held firm. She's actually adjusting. Made friends, joined a book club. That's good. I'm still in therapy working through this, learning that I can love her and still have boundaries. You taught me that, even though I fought it. It's not easy. No, but it's necessary. He paused. She asks about you sometimes, about Liam. I tell her you're doing well. I don't think she's ready to reach out, and I'm not pushing her, but I thought you should know. I nodded. Thanks. The truth was I'd stopped hating my mother. The anger had faded, replaced by sad acceptance. She was who she was. I could have compassion for that while maintaining distance. As darkness fell, we lit sparklers. Kids ran around the yard with light trails following them, squealing. Adults sat in lawn chairs, watching and chatting. This moment, I thought. This is what I was fighting for. Not revenge. Just this. A life built on my own terms, surrounded by people who showed up because they wanted to. Liam ran over, sparkler in hand. This is the best barbecue ever. Can we do this every month? We'll see, buddy. But yeah, probably. He hugged me quickly before running back. 12 years old and still willing to show affection. I'd done something right. As evening wound down, everyone helped clean up without being asked. The rental tenants stayed late, their kids asleep on my couch. Just leave them, I said. We'll carry them home when you're ready. Are you sure? Of course, we're neighbors, friends. This is what we do. After everyone left, I sat on my porch in quiet darkness. My phone buzzed. Thanks for including us today. The kids had a great time. So did I. I smiled and sent back a thumbs up. Inside, Liam was getting ready for bed. When I went to say goodnight, he looked up with that preteen wisdom that sometimes catches you off guard. Mom, today was really fun. I'm glad we have all these people now. Me too, buddy. Do you ever miss the old family, the ones who didn't come to my 10th birthday? I considered carefully. Sometimes I miss what I wish they could be, but I don't miss what they actually were. Does that make sense? He nodded. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like I have my uncle and cousins now, which is cool. But if they hadn't come back, I would have been okay. Because I have everyone else. That's very wise, Liam. I get it from you, he said with a grin. After he fell asleep, I sat in my quiet house and thought about the journey. From that devastating birthday party to this thriving community. From being everyone's ATM to someone who could say no without guilt. The rental property, once a symbol of exploitation, now housed people I genuinely cared about. The boundaries I'd set had created space for authentic relationships. I thought about my mother and her senior community, my brother learning boundaries, my sister living her separate life. The family I was born into had scattered, reshaped, redefined, and that was okay. Some relationships weren't meant to be repaired, only released. What mattered was what I'd built in their place. This chosen family, this community of people who showed up, who cared, who treated each other with respect. 2 years ago, standing in my kitchen surrounded by leftover cake from a party my family had abandoned, I'd made a decision that terrified me. I'd chosen myself. I'd chosen my son. I'd chosen the possibility of something better. Now, sitting in a house full of happy memories and genuine connections, I knew I'd made the right choice. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes freedom means burning down what's broken. Sometimes the family you need is the one you build yourself. And sometimes the ending you think will destroy you is actually the beginning of something better than you ever imagined. I was home, finally truly home.